वेलकम टू द लीगल लेंस। आज की इस वीडियो में हम पॉलिटी से रिलेटेड वन लाइनर्स का थर्ड क्लास देखेंगे। तो फर्स्ट क्वेश्चन से स्टार्ट करते हैं। फर्स्ट है, द फंडामेंटल राइट्स ऑफ द इंडियन सिटीजन कैन बी सस्पेंडेड बाय द प्रेसिडेंट ड्यूरिंग द नेशनल इमरजेंसी। कब किया जा सकता है? नेशनल इमरजेंसी के टाइम पे प्रेसिडेंट के द्वारा। नेक्स्ट है, फंडामेंटल राइट्स आर those basic conditions of social life without which a citizen cannot be at his or her best self. Next है, the fundamental right ensure the protection of citizens against arbitrary rule. Our constitution grants to citizen 6 fundamental rights. Ultra vires means without authority. Next है, who are not entitled to form union? Answer is police. By the Citizenship Act of 1955, when he and she will be losing the citizenship कितने तरीके से? Renunciation, deprivation and termination. Who quoted child of today is a citizen of tomorrow? Jawaharlal Nehru. Generally, the census is conducted for every 10 years. Who quoted freedom is my birthright? Sardar Patel. What is the age in years for casting their vote? 18 year. Which article and amendment changes the right to vote from 21st to 18 years? Article 326 and 61st Constitutional Amendment. Next है creamy layer. Creamy layer means person having higher incomes. Next, background class, that is can be classified into most background class. Mandal Commission deals with reservation for backward class peoples. This is one of the ground for classification annual income. Equal protection of law means he same laws shall apply. The same laws shall apply to all who are similarly situated. Seats in educational institution can be reserved for socially and educationally backward class peoples. Minimum percentage for reservation in an educational institution is 50%. Minority may be linguistic or religious. Next है, this is not the ground to impose restrictions on the right of freedom of speech and expression. Public nuisance. Which one of the following court is responsible for the enforcement of fundamental rights? Supreme Court. Which one of the following statement is correct? Fundamental right is superior to the DPSP. In which case did the Supreme Court restrict the authority of Parliament to amend fundamental rights and declared these rights to be absolute, permanent and unalterable? Golaknath case. In the famous Keshwananda Bharti versus State of Kerala case, the Honorable Supreme Court asserts the power of the Parliament to amend the Constitution under Article 368 subject to certain implied and inherent limitations of not amending the basic structure of the Constitution. Next question, rule of law, which permeates the entire fabric of the Indian Constitution, excludes arbitrariness. This principle is laid down in Maneka Gandhi versus Union Government of case. The protection guaranteed under Article 21 is available even to convicts in the jail. The convicts are not by mere reasons of their conviction deprived of entire fundamental rights which they otherwise possess. This is the principle laid down in Sunil Batra versus Delhi administration case. Gender equality includes protection from sexual harassment and right to work with dignity, which is the universally recognized as the basic human right. This principle was laid down in the case of Vishakha versus State of Rajasthan. Next, the Supreme Court held that the nuisance caused by the pollution of the river Ganga is a public nuisance which is widespread and affecting the lives of the large number of persons, and therefore any particular person can take proceedings to stop it. This PIL is MC Mehta versus Union of India 1988. Next है, charging capitation fee for admission to educational institution is illegal and amounted to denial to citizens' right to education. This principle is laid down in Mohini Jain versus State of Karnataka case. The right to establish an educational institutions and imparting education is not a commercial activity. This principle is laid down in Unni Krishnan versus State of Andhra Pradesh. The principle of judicial review of the President's rule in state under the Article 356 is laid down in SR Bombay versus Union of India. Next है, who among the following has voting rights an adult resident citizen of a state? The right to strike is not a fundamental right. Next है, which one of the following fundamental right has been subject to maximum litigation since the inauguration of the constitution, that is right to property? The rule of equality before law is not applicable to governor of state. Right to equality is guaranteed under article 14. Next है, article 14 guarantees equality before law to all persons. Right to equality means permits the state to make special provisions for the women, children and backward classes. Next है, equal opportunity in matters of public employment is guaranteed under Article 16. Which among the following fundamental rights abolishes discrimination? Equality. Untouchability is associated with social inequality. Right to freedom can be restricted in the interest of public order, security of the state, friendly relations with the foreign states. Next है, this is not the ground to impose restrictions on the right to freedom of speech and expression, that is law and order. Which one of the following rights conferred by the constitution is also available to non-citizens, that is right to constitutional remedies? The Sikhs in India are permitted to carry kirpan. Under which fundamental right are they permitted to do so? Right to freedom of religion under Article 25. Freedom of speech under the Indian Constitution is subject to reasonable restrictions on the ground of protection of sovereignty and integrity of the country. Next है, which one of the following is considered as bulwark of democracy? Right to speech. One of the restriction of fundamental of the freedom of speech and expression is contempt of court. Next है, at present right to property is only a legal right. Which one of the following is not a fundamental right? That is right to property. Next है, the main objective of the cultural and educational rights guaranteed to the citizen is to help the minorities to conserve their culture. A person can move to Supreme Court directly in the event of the violation of fundamental rights under Article 32. A citizen's fundamental rights are protected when the citizen approaches the court for remedy. The fundamental rights of the citizen can be suspended by the President during a national emergency. For the enforcement of fundamental rights, the courts can issue a writ. Which fundamental right guaranteed by the Constitution prohibits traffic in human beings? Right to exploitation. Traffic in human being means selling or purchasing men and women. Next है, right against exploitation prohibits traffic in human being. Next, right to practice and propagate any religion is subject to public order. Right to property was eliminated from the list of fundamental rights during the tenure of Morarji Desai. Next one, legal equality under the Indian Constitution implies that there should be equality among equals and inequality among unequals. Who of the following can be amended the fundamental rights guaranteed by the Constitution, that is Parliament? Next है, a citizen can directly move to Supreme Court for any violation of fundamental rights under Article 32. The main objective of the fundamental rights is to ensure individuals' liberty. Next है, under the Indian Constitution, a citizen can be deprived of life and liberty only in accordance with the procedure established by law. Next है, Constitution grants right against exploitation to children and women, tribals and Dalits. तो आंसर है children and women. Which of the provisions authorizes Parliament to discriminate in favor of women against men under Article 15 Clause 3. Next है Article 15 Clause 3 confers a special provision to women and children. Article 15 Clause 4 confers special provisions for the advancement of scheduled castes and scheduled tribes. Next है the prohibition imposed by the Article 20 is applicable to criminal cases. The principle no person shall be prosecuted and punished for the same offence more than once is that is doc principle of double jeopardy. Next, if an act is not an offence on the date of its commission, a law enacted in future cannot make it so is the principle of ex post facto law. Ex post facto law means passing criminal law with the retrospective effect. Next है an arrested person should be allowed to consult his lawyer. Every person who has been arrested has the right to produce before magistrate. A person arrested has to be produced before the magistrate within 24 hours. The right of the accused to be informed about his grounds of arrest is mandatory ground. Next है no person who is arrested shall be detained in custody without being informed on the grounds for such arrest. The provision enshrined under Article 22 are mandatory. Next है Article 21A was inserted under our Constitution by way of Constitutional Amendment 86th. Next, earlier to 86th Amendment, Article 21 is in form of DPSP. What is the objective of Article 21A of the Constitution? Primary education. Next है right to education guaranteed under Article 21A shall be between the age group of 6 to 14 years. Right to primary education guaranteed under the Article 21A was inserted into the Constitution by 86th Constitutional Amendment. Which of the following has been included in the list of fundamental rights to Indian citizens? Right to all children between 6 to 14 years of age. Next, right to education is a part of right to life. Right to life includes right to get education. Next question. Education has become the joint responsibility of the center and the state governments through the constitutional amendment in 1976. The constitution does not protect the rights of the minority with regard to cult, with regard to culture. Which among the following articles guaranteed the rights of the minorities to establish and administer the educational institution, that is Article 30. The right to establish education institutions under Article 30 is applicable to linguistic minority. Next है right to decent environment includes right to life. Next, a person is detained under the preventive detention law when he is likely to cause harm to public. Next है the forced labor does not include service rendered under compulsion of economic circumstances. This is one of the bases for classification geographical. Sexual harassment of working women is violation of fundamental rights. The popular name for a 9 judges bench of the Supreme Court has in the Indira Sawhney versus Union of India case is Mandal Commission case. Next है the freedom of speech and expression does not include calling of band. Next है freedom of press is included in right to freedom of speech and expression. Freedom of press is protected under Article 19(1)(d). Next है right to privacy includes right to personal liberty under Article 21. A citizen of the India may be debarred from the right to vote on the grounds of unsoundness of mind, crime, or corrupt or illegal practice and non-resident. Next one, freedoms guaranteed under Article 19 are suspended during the emergency on the ground of war and external aggression. Right to freedom guaranteed under Article 19 can be suspended during emergency. Article 19 Clause 2 under the Indian Constitution speaks about reasonable restrictions. Next है India has recognized no religion as the national religion. Freedom of religion guaranteed under Article 25 is applicable to citizens only, persons residing within India, and persons of Indian origin. The secular provisions under the Indian constitutions are guaranteed under Article 22. Article 25 guarantees freedom of religion, but it is subject to public order, morality, and health. Contempt of court places restrictions on which of the following fundamental rights: right to freedom. Right to life and personal liberty guaranteed under Article 21 implies right of every human being to live with dignity. Next है any law depriving personal liberty guaranteed under Article 21 had no conform with Article 20 and 22. Any law laid down by the Parliament to deprive the personal liberty should be fair, reasonable, and just. What is not a writ? Writ of prevention. How many types of writs are there? 5. Next है writ can be directly filed to Supreme Court. Next है the writ of habeas corpus is issued in the form of an order calling upon a person who has detained another person to bring that person before the court and show authority for such detention. Next है the writ of quo warranto is an order from a superior court whereby it can call upon a person to show under what authority he is holding the office. Next है the writ of mandamus is issued by the superior court to command a person or public authority to do something in the nature of public duty. Next है the writ of certiorari is issued by a superior court to an inferior court to transfer the record of the proceeding in the case for review. Next है the writ of prohibition is issued by a superior court to prevent an inferior court or tribunal from exceeding its jurisdiction or acting contrary to the rules of natural justice. Next है writ of prohibition prohibits lower court exceeding its jurisdiction. The writ issued by the superior court directing any constitutional, statutory or non-statutory agency from not continuing their proceeding is known as prohibition. Writ of certiorari is issued when a judicial authority acts in excess of jurisdiction. Next है the writ in the form of an order which removes a suit from an inferior court to superior court to prevent an excess of jurisdiction is known as certiorari. Exploitation of any sort of prohibited under Article 23. A laborer is entitled to get at least minimum wages, otherwise Article 23 is violated. Next question. Child labor is prohibited under Article 24. Conflict of interest may be potential. A person is detained under the special law when dash there is a likelihood of committing offence against public. When a person is detained under a special law, an advisory board must be constituted within the 3 months. Next, writ of mandamus can be issued on the ground of non-performance of public duties. Writ of quo warranto can be issued on the ground of unlawful occupation of public office. Next है which of the following writ is issued by the Supreme Court if it sends an order to restrain a person from acting in an office to which he or she is not entitled quo warranto. Writ of habeas corpus means produce the body before the court. Next है which one of the following is the bulwark of the personal freedom habeas corpus. Next है which one of the following writs literally means you may have the body habeas corpus. According to the constitution guarantees fundamental right to all citizens of India. Right to property was excluded from the fundamental rights during the tenure of the government headed by Morarji Desai. Next है the 44th constitutional amendment of the India drew the fundamental right is to property. The writs for the enforcement of fundamental rights are issued by the Supreme Court. A Preventive Detention Act restrains the right to freedom of movement. Article 19 of our Constitution forms the core of the chapter on fundamental rights. The number of the categories of the freedoms that the citizens shall have is 6. What is the minimum permissible age in the year of employment in the factory or mine, that is 14 years. Which article of the Constitution of India says no child below the age of 14 years shall be employed to work in any factory or mine or engaged in any other hazardous employment, that is Article 24. Next है equality and arbitrariness are sworn enemies. This was said in the following case, that is E.P. Royappa versus State of Tamil Nadu. The Supreme Court of India has held that sexual harassment of working women amounts to violation of rights of gender equality and right to life and personal liberty. The case in which apex court was held is Visakha and others versus State of Rajasthan. Next है which one of the following pairs is not correctly matched? Freedom of conscience includes the right to worship at a temple at all hours of the day. The fundamental rights are limitation upon the state's power. So this is all for today. आगे के क्वेश्चन हम नेक्स्ट वीडियो में कंटिन्यू करेंगे. तब तक के लिए कीप वॉचिंग, कीप लर्निंग, कीप शाइनिंग. ऑल द बेस्ट. थैंक यू.